Listen,
the Jets fans have been not criticizing Joe Douglas enough for me. I know Adam Gase is horrible. I know he's a horrible coach. He should have been fired at the end of last season. You could even say when we started 0-4 last year, I never wanted Adam Gase to be the coach for the Jets. And he deserves most of the blame, but not all of the blame. Joe Douglas deserves blame for this Jets mess. And the reason I say that is because Joe Douglas is essentially an Adam Gase puppet. He is only with the Jets because Adam Gase was part of the hiring process to hire Joe Douglas. Joe Douglas essentially is the Jets general manager because he wanted to work with Adam Gase and because Adam Gase got him the job.
I'm going to clip that part where you said that he's an Adam Gase puppet.
He is.
For the end of the season when he fires Adam Gase, and he's still here and Adam Gase isn't.
And he does nothing to make the team better. This is a list of the good things Joe Douglas has done that has fans anointing him as the next great GM. Draft Mekhi Becton in a loaded tackle class.
Why are you saying that in some condescending tone?
In which, if we didn't draft Mekhi, we were going to draft Tristan Wirfs, who's been a baller for Tampa Bay. If we didn't draft Tristan Wirfs or Mekhi, we would have drafted Jedrick Wills, who's a baller for Cleveland.
And none of the you could keep going with the list, but none of the guys that you were going to mention have been the best graded offensive lineman in the class because that's Mekhi Becton.
2 weeks though.
Yes, and in those 2 weeks, he was the best offensive lineman in the class.
These guys are still good though. And we were still going to get a franchise left tackle either way.
Can I ask you a question?
That's what I'm saying.
Can I ask you a question?
Before you go.
Okay. A quick question.
And the good is that he got 2 first-rounders for Jamal and Bradley McDougall, who doesn't even want to be on the Jets.
Okay. Just anybody?
I told you.
At this point in time?
The bad Douglas has done. He inherited a team with a number 1 wide receiver now in Robbie Anderson, a Hall of Fame talent in Jamal Adams.
Wow, now he's a Hall of Fame talent.
And Le'Veon Bell. He didn't re-sign Robbie. He undervalued him. Robbie Anderson cried to Michael Irvin on the phone and was so sad he was leaving New York. He was crying. Joe Douglas didn't bring him back. Instead, he brought Brashard Perriman and Chris Hogan. Brashard is a first-round bust, and Chris Hogan is just another guy. He barely played for Carolina last year. And then he traded Jamal. He released Bell. He's lied to the fans. Each time he's been in the press, he's lied to the fans. He mishandled Kelechi Osemele's injury, who's now in KC. He fined Quincy Enunwa for missing 2 treatments for being with his wife. And he mishandled Mekhi's injury by letting him be active against the Broncos. And he mishandled Sam Darnold after he got injured and they still let him finish off a game. And you see that same injury is sidelining him for weeks.
What does Joe Douglas have to do with that?
So he has no role in any of it? He has no role?
Hold on. What does Joe Douglas have to do with Adam Gase putting Sam Darnold back in the game? He's not on the sideline.
He can't call them. He can't.
No.
He's general manager. What about Mekhi Becton being active? He has a role in that.
That's a different story. He does have a role in that. But at the end of the day, Mekhi Becton said that he was available to play. And I still disagree with it. But I want to go back to the point you made about what he inherited. Because I think it's very funny that you cherry-picked the 3 good players that he inherited on the entire roster. Because how about this that he inherited? He inherited John Isdick's draft, which in 2 years he drafted 19 players, none of which remained on the Jets roster, none of which remained on the Jets roster when he picked up the Jets team.
So they weren't on the roster?
No. Because it was 19 missed picks in a row for 2 years. Then after that, Mike McCagnon made 34 draft picks. 6 of them are still starting. 5 of them are backups. The rest of them are off the roster, out of the NFL. So in 2 years, that is one of the lowest draft percentages in the entire league.
John Isdick.
To remain. No, that's John Isdick and Mike McCagnon. Back-to-back in a decade, had 2 of the worst GM drafting performances in NFL history back-to-back. So
bad.
That is what he's inheriting. And the problem is that Mike McCagnon, towards the end of his tenure, put lipstick on a pig by signing Le'Veon Bell to a too big of a contract to give to a running back.
I agree with that.
CJ Mosley to too big of a contract. But you know what? At the end of the day, they were big names, and they got people excited, and they got fans excited into thinking that the team was something it was not because we had no depth whatsoever, and we had starting positions like cornerback where we had Tremaine Johnson making $20 million a year, didn't even want to be in the NFL anymore. So we had starting positions where we didn't even have starters that could play, let alone backups. And good teams in the NFL not only have every starting position, maybe one or two, filled out with solid NFL talent.
Jack.
But they have solid NFL talent as backups, and we had none of that.
So what you're telling me now is that Tremaine Johnson, a guy that Mike Maccagnan signed, wasn't a good player, and Joe Douglas had to let him go, right?
Wasn't $20 million.
He was a good player that Maccagnan thought he was going to be for the Jets, right?
Yes,
and he let him go.
On it.
He missed on it. Didn't Joe Douglas miss on Pierre Desir?
Yes, but he didn't pay him $20 million.
Okay, but he missed on him too.
He didn't pay him $20 million for multiple years.
Did he let go of Brian Winters, our starting guard, who would have been the best guard on the team right now? He's in Buffalo right now. Didn't he miss on him too?
And what would he have been to the long term? Because I know what you're going to say. Now you're going to go into a list of players that he let go, like Robbie Anderson. He traded Jamal. He released Le'Veon. But you could take all of those players that you're going to list and put them on this team. And like I asked you that night when we had the conversation, what would the team be with them? A 5 to 6 win team.
This is what the team would have been. This is what the team would have been. Last year, week 1 against Buffalo, we barely lost to the Bills. And now we blew. We should have beat them. And now we see the Bills ascending into new heights, surrounding their franchise quarterback with stars. And then we see the Jets and Joe Douglas getting rid of every single player. Right now, we could have been in the same position as the Bills right now. River, okay. We had Robbie Anderson. Oh, also, Joe Douglas inherited our number 1 wide receiver right now, Jamison Crowder. That wasn't his signing. That was Mike Maccagnan signing. Even though I hate Maccagnan too, but I'm just letting you know that these are good players, right? Joe Douglas had Robbie, Le'Veon, Jamison Crowder.
But he had refused
to be aggressive to trade for a Diggs or a Hopkins. Even as bad as Adam Gase is, you give Adam Gase an offense with Robbie, Hopkins, Bell, Crowder, Herndon, and Darnold, we'll at least be average.
You cannot be serious with me right now.
No, I'm being dead serious.
Then to compare the Bills roster to the Jets roster. Going it before the Jamal Adams trade, because that's when everything started.
Last year going into the season, us as Jets fans had the Jets making the playoffs over the Bills.
Yes, you did.
Jets fans, we thought we had a better roster, but then now you're saying that we weren't even close to them. Our roster was close to their roster. They just kept being aggressive.
But the fact of the matter is, they had and still have a much better offensive line, a better defense, a better quarterback, who has been not even a better quarterback, because I don't know if Josh Allen is a better quarterback.
No, he's better than Sam Darnold.
I think last year you could say that, but now he's better.
Joe Douglas. I'm saying talent. I'm just saying Josh Allen has been much more has been developed much better. So right now he's a better quarterback who's been put in a better
Darnold's more
position.
talented than Allen?
That's another argument. But look, Jack. Okay, Joe Douglas,
and on top of that, they had McDermott, who's a better coach than Adam Gase.
He inherited a bad offensive line, right? What did he do to fix it besides drafting Mekhi Becton? He drafted
Mekhi Becton and brought in George Font, who has been much better than you've given him credit for.
Is George Font
much better?
Honestly, is George Font a massive upgrade from Kelvin Beacom?
Yes.
No, he's not.
He is a big upgrade over Kelvin Beacom.
He's one of the bottom 15 tackles in the NFL.
Can I ask a quick question?
If he's one of the
Kelvin Beacom was one of the worst.
What about Greg Van Roten and Alex Lewis, a guy he brought in from Baltimore? That's the worst starting guard duo in the league.
Yes, 2 misses on 1 year deals.
Two misses. Okay, 2 misses. What about Rashard Perriman? Deals. Has he played?
So you're gonna blame him for a guy getting injured?
That's another miss. What about Chris Hogan? Has he been a hit?
Oh, so you know what? Then the 49ers must also suck at bringing in talent because Joey Bosa and Jimmy Garoppolo got injured.
No, I'm just saying the guys that Joe Douglas has the guys that Joe Douglas has brought in have been misses outside of Mekhi Becton, who's been a hit in free agency that Joe Douglas signed, who has hit. Nobody.
I want to hear what you have to say.
I just had a question because you were talking about how Mekhi Becton, you were being sarcastic with Tristan Wirf and all the other guys after you drafted, but he's been pretty good.
No, Mekhi Becton is really good.
Yeah,
he's a great player.
Him?
No, I'm not bashing Mekhi Becton. I'm just saying that was an easy pick. Any general manager drafting for the Jets was going to pick a tackle in that draft. That tackle draft was loaded.
Mekhi Becton was not supposed to be the pick at 11, though.
And Tristan Wirfs has been good,
If it wasn't Mekhi Becton, it was going to be Tristan Wirfs. And if it was Tristan Wirfs, we would have been happy with it anyway. But that's what I'm saying.
But at the end of the day, through 2 weeks, which is the sample size that we can use because that's the sample size that all tackles that were drafted played, Mekhi Becton was the best out of any of them.
Fourth.
So you have to give him credit.
Fourth among rookies.
No, I am giving him credit.
No, I'm saying
he hit. I'm saying I never said he didn't. He missed on Mekhi. He hit on Mekhi.
And here,
but in that draft, he would have hit on most of the tackles outside of Andrew Thomas.
Hold on. This is my biggest problem with your argument because I'm not saying that he's the savior. I'm not saying that he's going to lead us to the Super Bowl in 5 years.
Okay, you go first. I want to hear your take, and then I'm going to tell you all my problems with Joe Douglas and why I'm so angry.
You already told us all your problems.
No, because I have so much more. I have more. But okay, go.
I'm not saying that he's going to lead us to the Super Bowl in the next 5 years. I'm not saying that he's the Messiah because I don't know what he's going to be. But I'm willing to give him a chance. You are the one that's saying that we should fire him after one draft and offseason, which I think is totally irrational.
I didn't say that we should fire him.
No, because you said multiple times last night that we should fire Joe Douglas.
I
can show the screenshots. I will post the screenshots under the video.
Okay.
He's a little angry.
All right. Obviously, I'm going to say that because I already think that Joe Douglas is trending in the wrong direction. Same way that last year you wanted to give Adam Gase a chance, but then you notice in hindsight that, damn, we should have just fired him. I'm noticing in hindsight that we shouldn't wait 2 years. Well, Joe Douglas is going to be horrible.
No. But the problem was the difference between the two guys is that when Joe Douglas was signed as a GM, the consensus among the league was that it was a great signing. He had a good history in Philadelphia and Baltimore, which you discount. But when you look at Adam Gase, the consensus when he was signed was that it was a huge miss by the Jets. He was bad in Miami, and he hadn't had any success since Peyton Manning, which any of the three of us could have run an offense with Peyton Manning.
Just because the league thinks it was a great signing doesn't mean it was. And also,
I'm not saying that it is.
Joe Douglas
to
this point, Joe Douglas to this point has been bad as a GM, and that's point blank period. He hasn't been good.
You don't think he can improve?
No.
Maybe, but how? Okay. This is my real problem with Joe Douglas. One is that he's a coward.
Okay.
Right. After they released Le'Veon Bell, he refused to speak on the Michael Kay show to talk about the moves. Throughout this whole process of this Jets mess going on, Adam Gase has been the only guy speaking. Joe Douglas has been a coward. He hasn't been showing his face in the media. You know it, and every Jets fan knows it. Oh, and these quotes are all in different dates, right? But I want to read you a list of quotes that Joe Douglas has said when he lied to the fan base repeatedly, right? First quote: "When I first met Sam's parents in the first preseason game last August, I promised them that I was going to do everything in my power to take care of Sam with protection and playmakers." Last year, when he was the GM, week 1, can we say that Sam has better playmakers this year than he did last year?
No.
He doesn't. So he lied. What about pass protection? Is it that much better? A little bit. Not much. Okay.
Let me ask you. No. Before you move on from that quote, find me one GM in the league that would have done an incrementally better job surrounding him with talent in the time that you've given him that you say we should fire him and he's a terrible GM.
A GM that would have not let go of Robbie Anderson.
There are.
Can I ask you a question? If Robbie Anderson stays, what happens?
Nothing.
We have a receiver that defenses key in on, and other receivers get better opportunities.
So let me ask you something. Why didn't Robbie Anderson have this season last year? It's almost seems as though Adam Gase is a terrible play caller, and we don't have an offensive line.
Without a doubt. Robbie is also having this season because there are better receivers around Robbie, like DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, these speedsters, right? So but that's my problem. On a rookie deal, why aren't you being aggressive to get the team more weapons? We could have had Crowder, Robbie, N.A. Hopkins, or Diggs. And even why did we have to let go of Robbie to sign Perriman? Why couldn't we have just Perriman too? Why did we have to let go of Robbie to sign to draft Denzel Mims?
You like
we
that?
Didn't. Pick. No, I love that. I love Denzel Mims.
Okay.
I'm not sure if he'll succeed with the Jets in this dysfunction.
You were praising that pick.
But I'm saying that why couldn't we do both? There was no reason for us to not re-sign Robbie.
You could have kept Robbie regardless.
But let me go to these other quotes. We're trying to create the best culture in sports. You mean by finding Quincy Enunwa for missing treatments for being with his wife? You mean mishandling Kelechi Osemele's injury, mishandling Mekhi Becton, not surrounding Darnold with anything? He said we're trying to create the best culture in sports, and right now this is the worst culture in sports.
That's your way of framing all of those things.
What about all this? if you're not trying to win a Super Bowl every year, you shouldn't be in this business. Is Joe Douglas, has his moves proved that he's trying to win a Super Bowl every year?
You are actually out of your mind. Respectfully, you are out of your mind if you think you could take issue with the quote, but what do you want him to say? Because that quote had to have come from a question. So what did you want him to say? No, you know what, guys? We're not trying to win a Super Bowl. We don't want to win Super Bowls. We don't want to win games.
He said it.
He
also said this.
He's crazy. He's out of his mind.
He said this. He said this about Adam Gase. I feel like he is the right coach to lead this team. I feel really good about where we are with him and his leadership. Everything I've seen has been outstanding. We share. Keyword, share. They're in this together. We share a vision on what we want this team to look like. All these moves
when did he make that quote?
Gase and Douglas.
When did he make that quote?
Also, I want to talk about
when did he make that quote?
I'm not sure. I didn't get the dates.
Because again,
I didn't get the dates. I didn't get the dates.
Again, but what do you want him? What do you want him to say to the media? We don't believe in our head coach.
But also,
we're planning on firing him if he doesn't win the first 3 games.
But also, I want to go to this quote. Jamal Adams. You know, when he was going on his rampage to manage Meta, and he basically gave him all these statements. He said this. He bashed Adam Gase, but he also bashed Joe Douglas. Jamal said, why would Joe come out and say, we want to make Jamal a Jet for life? Why would you say that and then not even give me an offer? They didn't even give him an offer.
Who said that?
Jamal Adams.
Okay.
Jamal Adams was talking about Joe Douglas. Jamal Adams bashed Joe Douglas. How do you go out to the media and say you want to make our best player a Jet for life, which should have happened, and don't even give him an offer?
Well, you also have to take into consideration the fact that we're in a global pandemic. You have no idea what's going to happen with the salary cap in the next 2 years. I'm sure it played a role in it.
Kansas City didn't care.
No. Let me ask you something about Jamal Adams, though. He made this whole big stink about how he wanted a contract extension, but I haven't seen the Seahawks extend him yet. Why is that? Because
they haven't said they're going to extend him.
Because it was never really about a contract extension.
Yes, it was.
He wanted out of New York because he knew that they weren't going to win in the next few years, and he wants to win, which is fine if that's the case. But come out and say that instead of hiding behind the contract extension and making fans like you think that it's Joe Douglas's fault.
Oh, so what about you said? So come out and say that. So you wanted Jamal to come out and be honest, right?
Yes.
So why aren't you saying that same thing to Joe Douglas? Why aren't you telling Joe Douglas to come out and be honest? Because Joe Douglas has been a liar.
Because Jamal Adams was not prompted to give those quotes to Manage Meta. He went to Manage Meta to write that story.
Like I'm saying, you want to give Joe Douglas time to draft, that's fine. It's whatever for me. But I'd like to see Joe Douglas keep our talent and draft well as well.